Let's take a short break here. We have a couple of callers who would like to talk to you. Saharadevi is my guest today on Gesundheit with Jacobus. Caller number 1, good morning to you. What is your name? How can we help you, please?
This is Bob.
Hey, Bob. Good morning to you.
Good morning. It sounds to me like what Debbie's spouting is predestination. It's predestination because what she's saying is you're not responsible for anything. You're a product of your surroundings, and there's this greater consciousness or whatever in the world makes you make the choices you make, which I, needless to say, would be totally contrary to. I have made choices.
Yes.
I have paid consequences. But for every choice there is a consequence, but it is mine to make. And it's not a subject of, she's correct in one perspective, as in, yes, it is the result of our education, our backgrounds. We put all this into our choices. But some of us choose to improve where we came from. Others choose to live and wallow and continually look back. So those are all personal choices. I totally would reject her concept of the world view, and that's the problem with it. It is a world view of give, or someone else is responsible. You are responsible for every action you make and every choice you make. But I will agree with her that fulfillment comes from within. Nobody can make you happy. You are the only one who can make yourself happy.
Yes, well, I agree with you, and that's a paradox that really cannot be explained. I agree with personal responsibility that there is a consequence to every action that we make, and the responsibility is accepting the consequences of our behavior. So while I feel that I'm not saying that there is something or someone making choices for anyone. What I am saying is that it's a much larger picture than we imagine, and whatever makes you comfortable to function in your life, I am not going to interfere with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, but by the same token, your concept of the homeless arousing compassion and showing our ability to be compassionate, I can tell you from dealing with a lot of them and trying to put up homeless shelters and being involved, that I would agree with Jacobus. Most of them, that is a lifestyle they choose. And as one homeless man put it to me, I picked him up and was giving him a ride, and he looked at me, and because I asked him, I said, as we went past 2 guys with a dog trying to hitchhike, and I said, how do they expect me to stop and pick them up with a dog and 5 backpacks and looked like they were moving?
Yes.
And he said they don't. They want people who are just like them to pick them up, because they don't expect someone who would expect something from them greater than what they want to give to do something for them. And that I found very profound.
Well, I agree with that as well. That can very well be true. But the thing is that, a generalization doesn't really work applied anywhere. So while I say, use the example of homelessness, that was my personal experience, that I felt that the reason that these people or anybody is in a position of need, I think that it's very important for those who have the abundance of life to experience and express compassion for those that don't, no matter how they came to that place. I think that compassion by itself is a very worthy and valuable attribute to encourage in one's own heart.
And that can be at all different levels. And I think, Bob, I hear exactly what you're saying. And as I was reading the book, The Evolution Revolution by Saharadevi, I had to mince through some of her words and try to understand what she was saying and how I interpret it. Because every time you read a book, especially a book like this, you start reading it from where you are today
Yes.
in the world. Where I am, Chuck and I make comments at times, and Chuck goes like, America has been very, very good to me. So it's, I've had a lot of great fortune happen in my life. I've had very rough times. Where I'm at right now, when I read that book, I have had times when I say, if I go up to a homeless person who is standing at the freeway with a sign, does that person really want to be helped? I cannot force that person to accept my help, but some people are there by choice. Some people are there because they had bad fortune, and we don't know that, but it doesn't matter. What Sahara is saying is, if it brings out a compassion in us, then we can still decide to help or not help, but at least a compassion towards the other individual instead of a judgment. And it is people are where they are because of choices or because of fortune or misfortune. But
Okay, how
all
do
that
you
can be
define-
stripped. All that can be stripped away, and there is still the individual underneath it.
But my question is, how are you defining compassion? Is compassion, because compassion is a mystical term.
That's good. That's true.
Without action, compassion has no value.
I agree with that too. And so you offer what you are inspired to offer without judgment, and you accept the results of whatever you do also without judgment. I mean, I have stopped and offered some of these people locally food, and some of them had said to me, no thank you. They didn't want what I offered. And I said, okay, go in peace. All I can do is my part, what I'm inspired. And there are times when I would see someone and ask them, what can I do for you? That's another very important point, because from the one side, I mean, I had people who were wanting to give me things that were of no use or value to me. And I had to say to them, thank you for your expression, but I have no use for this.
Yes.
So I have experienced this from both sides.
Compassion can also be doing a prayer for that person if you're into prayer. Prayer for whatever is God's will or whatever you believe in, that there is a higher power that will help those people to in whatever need they have.
Exactly.
Because some people's needs are very simple and other people's needs are very high. And
I agree with you. And with this perspective, so long as we agree that compassion is an inner feeling that you act upon.
Okay, Bob, you're still stay with us,
Yes,
Bob.
we do, Bob. We agree on that.
Thank you. Yeah.
We agree on that. And the action, as Jacobus says, can be as simple as a prayer, sending loving thoughts to someone, And
I agree with, I fully don't have an issue with that either, because what I was looking and what I really wanted to make this phone call to clarify is compassion does not justify external use of force by a government or other entity to force you to do something under the name of compassion.
Great point.
I agree with
some
that
people,
as well.
Yes, if you see a poor person who is begging for something and you call the person a bum, then you're placing a judgment on the individual. If you look at some people look at a rich person and say he's a bum or she's a bum because they have no compassion or because you don't agree with how they live. But the point is, when we start placing a judgment, we're moving away from what we should be doing, which is really, keep peace in our heart and not judge the person on where they are in their life, in their evolution, in whatever they need to accomplish. So that is. Go ahead.
I appreciate it. I totally agree with you, and that's why I had to call in just so we could clarify, because in the concept I do agree with you, but in the world today, compassion has been used to so misabuse in other people
Totally.
under the name of compassion.
That's
that
right,
I
Bob.
just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you.
Thank
and that
you
is
for your call,
total true, and that's why I said when I read the book, it inspired me to be better in whatever I can do. So, having said that, we're going to take a short break, and Sahara
Thank you very much.
thank you, Bob. We're gonna keep Sahara in the studio just a little bit longer. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
For the mind, body, and soul. This is Gesundheit.